Adrienne and Amy.
Hi,
Hi!
how are you, Adrienne?
I am so good because today we're going to one of our favorites, something
Yes,
that we always talk about,
correct.
and to,
Can we pause and say that before we talked about it, we were each independently listening to this podcast and then realized that both of us were really into it. So just wanted to add that.
yes, very fun. And of course, we're talking about the necessary conversation, which is basically, what would you say, family
Mhm.
podcast about
Yeah,
politics,
that's right.
Trump, MAGA, and kind
Yeah,
of what happens when adult children try to really just suck their parents out of the MAGA bubble
that's right.
and get them back.
And I and
Yeah.
I think for this particular, because that's certainly that's an experience that is much more common, unfortunately, I think in this day and age. They're not the only adult children that are going through that. I think though
No.
that for this, the way that I understand the genesis of this particular podcast was that Chad and Haley, who are the
Two
adults,
adult children.
correct. They apparently were like basically almost no contact, I think, with their MAGA parents for a couple years. And they didn't want that to go on and they wanted to be a part of their parents' lives, which let's put a pin in that point because I think that's a point that's interesting that it was the kids that had to be the ones to come with an idea for how to stay connected with their parents. Their parents weren't the ones that did that, but there was this, I guess, almost like an olive branch from the kids that were like, look, how about this? We can have a podcast every week. That will be the only time we talk about politics, and then we can be in each other's lives otherwise, which is actually a very
Going for it.
mature, great idea, Chad.
And they can't talk about it outside of the podcast. That
Correct.
was what was surprising to me. I was like, why can they just not talk about it? I guess the parents. It sounds like Mary Lou and Bob, the parents were the
Very
ones that
well.
were incessantly wanting to bring it up, which is,
Yeah,
I guess, just relating it to my experience is the opposite. I'm the one always wanting to talk about
that's
reality,
interesting.
but they had to kind of put it in a box and say once a week for an hour we'll get it out on the
Right,
table and then we won't talk about it again. And
right.
it also actually, Mary Lou, based on the episode we're going to react to today, she might push back on the amount of time you said that they were estranged. She
Okay,
claims it's
push.
only a few months, so but
Kids
it
have a different
does,
understanding.
it does sound like a very clear confirmation from her that yes, they were the ones that stopped talking. It wasn't, I always kind of assumed it was the children, Chad and Haley, that
Oh,
stopped, but
it
I think
was
it
yikes, man.
a definite yikes, which is, it's kind of amazing that, and now they're doing a podcast. I think, how long is it? I think
Three
it's been
years?
4
4 years?
years.
Yeah.
I think it was 2022.
I
So
I
now,
yeah,
this
that sounds right.
particular episode that we're going to watch is with the founder of Leaving MAGA, Rich Logis,
I'm
who
excited for this.
I've followed. I was like, finally, I'm always like thinking they need deflectors. They need people from the other side. That's the only way to move the needle. But he's
Wait,
like
so
a,
did you know this guy before
oh,
his
yeah, yeah,
oh,
I
so you were following
follow
him before. I had never
for
heard of this
sure.
guy.
Yeah, and I haven't, I guess it's been a few months, but definitely interested in his story. I'll say the only thing I did notice is when I got so excited and went on his page, I was like, "Ugh, not too many followers. It looked to be up and coming. And I guess I had higher hopes for, the crowd that would flock to it. I thought everybody was
Got it.
flocking, but of course, that might be just high hopes. So,
Also, though, after his appearance on the Necessary podcast, maybe he'll have maybe it'll bring some more traction because Hunter
for sure.
Biden gave him a shout out. I mean, they're
Yes.
like kingmakers now. I think maybe.
If they get Hunter Biden, but oh my God. Okay, so I was super excited about this episode, but I just want to preface that I have absolutely a lack of credentials to critique anything Chad and Haley have done. They obviously know their parents
Yeah, of course.
way better. They have a lifetime of context but
Right.
behind that. But
That's right.
I feel like I'm watching it like game tape.
Mm,
You
a
looking at those
100%.
expressions.
100% like game tape.
And I don't see Chad and Haley really even kind of looking at her facial expressions, Mary Lou that is, to gather what's hitting, pushing her farther away. So that's just an angle that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to check out. So just wanted to make that clear.
Also, I think when, like, for example, when I've had difficult conversations about political things with my mom, it goes very differently than a similar conversation that I would have with someone who isn't my mom, because of obviously there's like so much there that gets tangled up and confused. And so I can understand why maybe the reactions are a little more like than they would be if it were somebody that wasn't their mom, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Here's my theory on that. I think you're absolutely onto something. I think the spoiler alert of this entire podcast is that parents will never see their adult children as like
adults,
correct, or adults. And I don't think that is unique to this family. I think that's anywhere. I don't think you're gonna go out and find a ton of success stories of like adult children personally radically changing their parents' minds.
I agree completely. And
that's humiliating.
I get so much more worked up when, I'm not saying that this is true of Chad and Haley, but like for me personally, I get more worked up in those conversations than any other conversations I have in my life. I say things that after they come out, I'm like, why did I say that? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, it'll be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to get a rise out of you if you're going to try. You know what I mean? There's like,
a little tit for tat. Like two kids on the playground.
That's right. I love my mom. It's complicated when you try to.
It's complicated. I don't think that they recognize that. Like, I think this is a compliment to Chad and Haley. I think that they have like differentiated so much and have overcome, their parents really just parentifying them, and they're their own individuals. Yeah. But I think in that differentiation, they really lost a lot of self-awareness for like what is so obvious from Mary Lou to me. Like,
I see what you mean. Like how, like,
she is someone I know, like, and what I feared, my face got red when I started watching this, the beginning, which we'll tee up in a second, because I was like, oh my God, she's not gonna like this. This is like an intervention.
Yeah, and I agree in that, like, I think some of the ways that and again, not trying to criticize, like you said, like armchair quarterback, like whatever, but when I think they maybe unintentionally, but almost like put words in her mouth, for example, of like, on this journey of you to get out of MAGA. And she's like, wait a minute.
When did she say that?
I never agreed to that. And so it's kind of like, maybe she's like a baby bird. She's like a baby bird that we have to be gentle with her.
If you want to let Mary Lou know the truth, know the real deal and how twisted her mind is, then you can say all those things. And she's going to stay on there for 5 seconds before all of her defensiveness comes up and she just shuts down.
Yep.
If you want to persuade her or anyone else, baby bird.
Baby bird. I've started treating my mom like a baby bird, and I'm seeing a difference. I'm seeing a difference. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's quite right. How about we look it up together versus, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life,
And I want to validate Amy here. I want to validate Chad and Haley that everyone. It is not fair. Okay?
No, it's definitely not fair.
You are correct. And Mary Lou's way of thinking is incorrect.
Correct. That's right.
But again, if you want to persuade,
that's right. What's the goal? Is the goal to just tell her what you think?
Embarrass her? Because that's how she feels.
Her, yeah. And that's maybe not your intention, but that is the impact. And so it's like, what is the goal? Is the goal, like you said, to bring her out? Or is the goal to just be like, this is what we think. We think that what you think is dumb. If that's the goal, that's the goal. But it
That's the
seems
goal.
like their goal is not that. It seems like their goal is to, but you got a baby bird. You got a baby bird. Oh, I
So
love
let's
his
kick
I
this
left
off.
MAGA hat. And
Yes.
before you start, can we talk about, I know Haley's already heard this, her skin. Oh my God. Like, girl, drop the routine. I think she did do a funny video about that. But
Also, her composure.
I kind of have a crush on her.
Second.
Parasocially.
Yes, of course. Okay,
Sorry,
just
Haley.
from the start,
Very
we
woman, I
have.
know that you are.
I want to, if you're going to compliment Haley for her looks here, I want to compliment Rich because I think the red.
The red was a good choice. Great choice.
To the Necessary Conversation midweek edition. Today we have myself, my other lefty sister, my mom, and a very special guest. With us today is Rich Logis, the founder of Leaving MAGA. Think about this.
Well, welcome. I welcome all of our guests.
Thank
We'll
you.
see how this goes.
No, I'm very excited to have you here, Rich, because I feel like we've done a lot on this podcast to expose my mom to people that she would never talk to otherwise. Like we had Peppermint on, who I think is the first trans person you've ever talked to, right, Mom?
And
Yes.
she knows.
And I think talking to people who have had different experiences, or in this case, maybe a very similar experience to kind of where you are now in your path to leaving MAGA.
That's
Right
what I'm
there.
talking. Exactly what we were talking about. She hasn't said that she is on a path to leaving MAGA. Those words in her mouth. Chad, love you, but come on.
Love you. Imagine, Amy, this is a panel. You're a lefty going on to just do a panel, and there's three people on the right, and they open up the podcast with, hey, we have on Amy. She's leaving the left here
Right.
on her path.
You're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Whoa.
That is not what's happening.
I love and appreciate setting the premise up early of what you want it to be. But let's look at her reaction.
That this might be helpful for you. So, Rich, thank you for joining us. Before in your path to leaving MAGA, this might be helpful for you. So, and Mom, feel free to ask any questions. Haley, obviously, whatever. But I have a few kind of like things I want to start with, if you don't mind. Where did you grow up, Rich?
I love
So
that
I
they
am.
have
I live in Florida, but I am originally a New Yorker.
good smattering of states too, if you look at it, right? For this conversation, you got California, you got Florida, you got Texas, and you got Oklahoma, you know?
It's a great honor for me to join you guys today, and means a lot to our organization to have you welcome us to the show.
No, it's our pleasure. I think from all the videos and stuff that I've watched of what you're doing, and obviously the big billboard campaign and stuff, it's like, I think putting the idea out there for other MAGA people like my mom, that it's like, okay, and that there are other people who are kind of like waking up to the fact that Trump has lied to you and you've been kind of hoodwinked by him. I think it's like incredibly helpful. That's a part of dismantling the whole Trump machine that has to happen.
Again, I'm putting the other shoe on foot. He just said that she had been hoodwinked.
I know. I feel like they're skipping ahead a little
Yes.
bit. Like, wait a minute, she's not agreeing. These aren't statements that are agreed upon. She doesn't acknowledge that she's been hoodwinked. I mean, we know she has, but she isn't at that place yet.
I see this as completely humiliating to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. Because they brought somebody on and they're like, oh, she's been hoodwinked. Can you help her get out of her cult mentality, please?
Our stupid, silly little mom.
And listeners, sweet listener, gentle listener, singular. We adore Chad and Haley, so don't get it twisted. They're amazing. Doing the work, putting in the time. Incredible, love them. And this is feeling a little like we're just going to put you on your back foot immediately. We're going to make you defensive immediately.
Yes. And yes, so easy to Monday morning quarterback, which this is. Obviously, that's why we're doing it. It's
Right?
easy.
We weren't there.
But just watch your facial expression.
Yeah. I mean, look at
So
it.
you said your parents weren't politically active. What first got you into politics?
Well, I actually would say that my sensibilities for politics developed while I was in college. My very first vote for president was in the year 2000 when I graduated college, and that vote was for Ralph Nader. And
Okay, interesting.
I was attracted to
She
Ralph
likes-
Nader because
She likes
he had a message as part of his campaign, which was that the two parties were the same and that we basically had to tear down the system and we needed to start anew. Now that sounds like
She likes.
another candidate I supported
Right.
in
does sound
2015
like
and
that.
16, who came on the scene and said the two parties are essentially the same. They failed to represent most Americans except the wealthy and the powerful. And I didn't just,
I think I understand so much of what he just said and agree with so much of what he just said, right?
100%.
The parties are bullshit. The parties are corporatized. The parties don't care about us. The parties care about money and power. Big surprise there. But what's interesting to me is that I, of course, never had the draw to Donald Trump because, like, he's not actually an outsider. He's a rich kid, Nepo baby, who never lived any life similar to the regular working class person in the US. So, like, this idea that he is an outsider to me has a very limited idea of what an outsider is. Oh, you've just never gone into politics. He was a rich kid who's been doing, you know what I mean? So that to
He
me
is
not
a politician. Like
Exactly.
he's the definition of
That's right.
a politician.
Well,
but I
and
think
because
he
I think
sold the lie. He
He
wasn't
sold the lie,
an
but also
outsider.
in the US, politics and capitalism and money you cannot disentangle them from one another. So I just never saw Donald Trump as an outsider because he has lived a life that is so different from the every person in the United States and what they struggle with.
Well, can you not just dwindle it down to there are obvious true issues here?
Correct. That's
Okay,
right.
we have
That's right.
wealth
People have
inequality.
legitimate concerns.
Yes. And then it
Well,
just
well.
depends what avenue you take from there. It's like when I do my Oppo research and I'm listening to Nick Fuentes,
Oh, God.
and he is clearly laying out the wealth inequality and those issues. And then his next sentence is, so we got to get the immigrants out.
What?
It is. You're
Okay.
taking the real problem and you are just manufacturing what you want.
That's
the
right.
Issue, or,
That's right. That's
to
right.
be. So that's to me exactly what he just said. He laid out there's real issues with both
That's right.
parties. What do we do from here?
That's right. And they did get bamboozled.
Trump, as someone on the periphery, I worked on the campaign. I wrote part of the call script in 2016. I showed people where to get registered to vote. I recruited people to vote for
This is
Trump,
good
including Bernie
credibility for him
Sanders
to carry
voters.
forward.
And after the 2016 election, I just got deeper and deeper into the MAGA community. And I found a second family. And I had feelings of camaraderie and gathering and belonging as part of being in MAGA. And I developed my own podcast. I spent my own money that should have gone to my family and my business, looking back on it, to a podcast. I
She's
was
like-
a MAGA activist. I wrote for lots of MAGA media, including bylines in places like Fox and The Federalist. I wrote for a site called WorldNet Daily, which popularized the Obama birther conspiracy. I spoke at Trump groups. I was a sponsor of Trump groups. I was unapologetically and publicly a supporter of Trump and the MAGA movement. And
He's taking it in.
MAGA was enthralling and exhilarating and exciting and new and novel and communal for me until it was not.
And so when you're saying like you saw similarities between Nader and Trump in that they were both kind of anti-establishment, they've come from outside the kind of mainstream American political sphere. But Trump came with a whole bunch of other stuff when he first emerged. It wasn't just that he was like, let's tear this down. We had the Access Hollywood tape. There were however many allegations of sexual assault against him, all of the different financial fraud cases that had been brought against him, all the different businesses he had.
Side note, no shade, Mary Lou, but I'm just personally curious. But what's with the glasses on and the glasses off?
I think I know.
Looking at the same screen. Okay, go ahead.
I know.
Please.
Because it was so reflective and it was kind of giving a glare. I kind of saw her respond to that, and I think that's what it was, because you could like see. So I think she was like, eh.
Okay, I want to couple off of that. I think that is absolutely true. I also think she's reading something on the top screen and she's looking below. So if you'll notice, she squints because she needs her glasses, but she doesn't want to wear them because of the reflection. That's my guess.
This guy is perfect for this because he has so much MAGA credibility. Wasn't just like a, like fair weather fan, right? He was like working on the campaign, contributing stuff. So I think it's really smart to have like somebody with that level of credibility, so that Mary Lou is like, oh, I reckon this guy was one of us at one point, right?
I think it's brilliant. Yes. Well, but because it's actually not totally relatable. So that gives like an off ramp of like a difference maybe.
Right. I mean, they weren't like writing scripts for Trump, right?
No. So
even though Bob could
Bob would have if he could.
Bob would have.
Yes. But he can say like, I was so involved and that's why I kind of feel this need to feel bad. Right. You don't need to feel as bad. Right. But you do need to leave.
But you got to get out, girl. Run, girl. Run for your life, girl. Go get some help.
Well, they're trying.
I know they are. Yeah.
Bankrupt. How did you reconcile all that stuff when you were first getting into MAGA?
I had very much a neutral opinion of Trump when he ran. I had heard him speak about economic issues before he declared for his run for president. He would talk about the influence of China and jobs being outsourced and once vibrant communities that had been hollowed out. And I found myself often nodding in agreement with him. And I admit now, looking back on it, that I overlooked a lot of what would normally be disqualifying for a candidate I was looking at. And part of the reason I overlooked so much of it is because I had allowed myself to come to believe that if Hillary and the Democrats had won, that they would have seized power indefinitely. I know it's delusional to say that right now, but I very quickly fell for a lot of the propaganda and agitprop that if Democrats and Hillary had won, that they were going to capture the country. And I was afraid of being an irrelevant citizen in my own country. And, I never watched The Apprentice. I didn't follow Trump's business dealings that closely. I just thought that he was the right person for the job at the time because I thought the two parties were the same. And I felt like he was giving voice to a lot of the frustrations and aggravation and disenchantment that lots of people in the country felt. And I think that there were, even though I don't believe that these apply any longer, I think that there were some valid concerns that people had when they decided to support Trump, whether it was economic or feeling left behind or unseen or unheard. And even though I wasn't struggling economically in 2016, I knew some people who had. I knew people who lost business to other countries. And I felt like Trump was somebody who very much so appealed to people who felt like the two parties had failed them and let them down, and that elected officials had failed to represent most Americans except the wealthy and the powerful.
Mom, you're hearing all this stuff? Oh, somebody's phone or something's going off.
No, I'm sorry. I can't take it off. It's somebody at our front door. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's all.
It's fine. You're hearing all this that Rich is saying. Does any of this ring true for you when you were first getting into MAGA?
I liked him coming down the escalator. I liked the appeal of we're going to make a change. It's going to be great again. America's going to be great again. I mean, some of the stuff he said, yes, I hear what he's saying, but I still have my own beliefs.
Sure.
What I wanted to ask you, you said you did support him until it was not. What were the nots that pushed you away?
Great question.
It is, but I want to go back to what I
The escalator? I'm sorry. What do you mean you liked him coming down the escalator? What are you
Girl.
talking
prepare,
about?
man.
No, really?
No, I'm saying like that was funny. That's like off the cuff. That's what she liked. I love that she didn't prepare because like that shows her
I see.
complete. But no, she said, I hear what you're saying.
But I have my own beliefs.
To me, that says I hear what you're saying and it may be true, but I still like it. I think she's saying like the whole thing. I get what you guys are trying to do, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Well, and this though, the thing is, this question that she's asking him, to me, shows curiosity.
Yes.
Shows so she isn't like totally shut down, right? Because she's like,
Yeah.
well, you liked him and then you didn't, so tell me what changed, which I think is a great question and something that I'm excited to.
If I was Mary Lou's defense lawyer, which obviously doesn't make any sense, but I would be like, listen, y'all, you want her at a 6 and she's at a 2 and you guys aren't even appreciating that she got to a 2. You're just assuming she's already at the 6. Like, it's not fair.
Well, and
Stop.
also, these are the kind of questions they should be like, let's get out of the way and let him and her talk about this, because
Yes. Ask questions.
I'm like, great, I'm glad for this question, and I'm like, let's hear what he has to say and hear
Yes.
what she's
And
gonna
I love
how-
Rich too. I am gonna put him on 2x because he does talk very slow
not
for
2X. But he's very articulate.
for sure.
Yeah.
Is there like a couple big ones in your mind that you didn't like?
Well, I like to paraphrase the late Ernest Hemingway in saying that my epiphany happened gradually and then suddenly all at once. And there were several reasons that led me to eventually leave MAGA. The first accelerant for leaving was actually not Donald Trump. It was my governor, Ron DeSantis, who in the summer of 2021 platformed COVID anti-vaxxers at a press conference that he held. And this was at a time when the Delta surge was ravaging the country. Kids were falling ill with the virus. Children were dying from the virus. And as someone with 2 small children who's not an anti-vax person, DeSantis' actions really shocked and confused me. I didn't understand why he was doing that because he had been a proponent of the vaccine up until that point. And after that happened, I did something that sounds very, very simple, but was profoundly life-altering and changing for me, which was
But I think that we've run into a little bit of an issue here, right? Because
I agree.
his breaking point was COVID and anti-vaccines, which means, and a lot of MAGA people, that wasn't a problem for them, and it would never be a problem for them
And it's
because
still not for Mary Lou. Like, she does not see it the way he's saying.
right.
And I completely empathized with him because that was the same feeling I had during COVID, a very naive feeling of like, I don't understand why people aren't just realizing this is something that hasn't happened in our lifetime. We don't know what to do with it. So we should probably just trust the people that...
But there's such a lack of trust in institutions.
And I didn't realize it was such, like, the mask and being told what to do was such, like, a humiliation for people. And
But I don't think it was a humiliation. I think that they were acting like children. You can't tell me what to do, which
well, you bet if you tell me what to do, that's humiliating. you know? So it's the
Yeah.
same, the kind of don't tread on me is because it's like, don't humiliate me.
But it's like, I don't want you to tread on me, but I'm okay with them treading on me. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the lesson that I've learned in these recent politics that I didn't, I guess, was naive to as well. I knew that they were like, don't tread on me. I didn't realize that it was also with, but we can tread on you.
Yeah.
And that's not that that's fine.
Yeah.
And that is the argument now of like, well, Bob has many times on this podcast been like, I don't care if it's the false equivalence or whatever. He just
He's
great.
so far gone.
But I did think, yes, he is. I did think that like normally, like a lot of these things kind of hit for certain MAGA people. I think that again are on their path to leaving, but maybe are throwing Mary Lou off because
Well, yes, because that's not going to work for every MAGA. Because a lot of
no.
MAGA is still very entrenched. I mean, my mom still won't say Dr. Fauci's name right. She calls him Fossey.
That is one of the saddest things to me, Amy. A side note of this time is like, imagine, isn't he like 80,
Poor
85?
bastard.
He's been working since the AIDS, like literally just trying to
Just
help
trying to.
our humanity.
Poor bastard. He didn't deserve any of that shit, in my opinion.
They are like people with pitchforks right now for him and this
Yeah, no,
Tulsi
Helen, I
Gabbard
think my mom
stuff.
is. My mom thinks he's a charlatan.
Another depressing thing, the absolute rewriting of history in real time with that and January 6th, like with the FBI insiders now.
But
It's like,
also going back to the vaccine and the absurdity of it all is that the vaccine was rolled out under Donald Trump's presidency,
facts, Amy, facts.
which apparently don't
Who
have any room
cares?
in MAGA.
Who cares?
Yeah, right.
And yes, same with wouldn't the FBI that was infiltrating January 6th be under President Trump? And yeah, whatever.
Me. I didn't understand why he was doing that because he had been a proponent of the vaccine up until that point. And after that happened, I did something that sounds very, very simple, but was profoundly life-altering and changing for me, which was I diversified my news and information sources. And after I did that, I went back and re-examined January 6th. I did not support originally what happened that day, but I thought that it had been hyperbolized into a bigger deal than it really was. I knew of groups like the Proud Boys and QAnon, but I didn't think that they had any actual influence. But after I expanded my news and info sources and after I widened my information aperture a little bit, what I came to realize very liberatingly but painfully is that a lot of what happened on January 6th, Trump allowed to happen, and that there was an attempt on his part and that he had culpability and was complicit in trying to overturn a free and fair election. And so after this diversification of my news and information sources, I spent the next year struggling with my doubts and had a lot of personal tumult and turmoil as I came to realize that so much of what I believed turned out to be false. I had believed that there was, as I call them in my memoir that I wrote this year, I called them a they. And the they were mostly Democrats, liberals, progressives, anti-Trump Republicans who were trying to abridge my rights and trying to indoctrinate my children. You know, a they who were trying to take my guns or trying to turn America into a communist or socialist country, that there was a they trying to replace white people with brown people and foreigners, that there was a they trying to persecute Christians, trying to secularize America. These were beliefs that I sincerely held, and I knew others who also held them. So I struggled with a lot of late nights with just my thoughts and I having to grapple with the fact that I had been lied to, that I had believed those lies, and perhaps worst of all, I had created an entire persona buttressed by those lies, by the fact that I had trafficked in some abhorrent and reprehensible language that I had used about Democrats, where I called them
She is struggling. Just
worse than
because
Nazis and
I
malignant
feel
and domestic
like-
terrorists. This was some of the kinds of rhetoric that
I feel like you said, like he's just farther along. He has different beliefs than Mary Lou. Like I don't think this isn't gonna be that effective for her specifically, right? I mean, because
take
he's
her on a
talking
date
about
first, guys. This is way too fast.
take her on a date first. But like, I want to know what she thinks about January 6th because
I
he
know
said
that.
at the time he didn't agree with it.
This is
So-
he has just named two things that the right has and are currently rewriting history on. COVID, they want to jail Fauci, and then January 6th. And Amy, I have a coworker that's not, he's one of those, I'll never vote in a presidential election again because it doesn't matter to me, Joe Rogan fan, that said, yeah, they just proved that there was FBI at January 6th like insinuating or incentivizing them to do what they did. And there's even a January 6er who got arrested and is blaming the FBI on making him do it, even though he's not. It's insane. So that is what she believes. So he is saying to her like something that she doesn't believe to be
That's
true.
right. I think that's the thing, is that that's not gonna, how is that gonna be persuasive to her when he didn't have her same beliefs anyway, right?
Yes, it's the same. She believes that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Right.
So it
Right.
would be the same if he were to say that. She's not there yet, but yeah.
that I deployed when I was this aspiring MAGA pundit. So I dealt with that for an entire year. And the final straw for me, which was the day that I quietly left MAGA, was May 24th, 2022, which was the day of the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. And even though Trump was not in office, I knew exactly how he and the Republican Party were going to respond. And they did as I had anticipated, which was to call for more guns and more access to guns. And I'm somebody who owns a firearm. I have a concealed carry permit. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. I'm not an anti-Second Amendment person, but it was one mass shooting too many for me after having witnessed one after another. And it was that day of Uvalde that I quietly left MAGA. But there was something that was really gnawing at me for doing it privately, because I'd always been so unapologetically public in my support for Trump that on August 30th, 2022, I wrote a mea culpa. And I said in this article that I published that I was sorry for supporting Trump, that I wanted to apologize to anyone I may have hurt with my words, deeds, and rhetoric. And the God's honest truth is that I never thought anybody would care. I wrote it thinking I would just close that chapter of my life, but it turned out that people did care. And I received one message after another from friends and relatives of those still in the thrall of MAGA asking me how they could better navigate and resurrect some of the relationships with their MAGA-identified friends and close ones, relationships they thought were hopeless and were lost forever. And I had to come to this conclusion, which, as hard as it was for me to come to it, I knew that it was the right decision to make, to leave publicly, that I had to come to a realization that I had helped the president divide the country, and that I was culpable and complicit in helping him amplify conspiracy theories that resulted in unnecessary death, trauma, and suffering. And one point that I will make about leaving MAGA, and I'm going to say this with some presumptuousness, so if everyone will indulge me, I think most people in MAGA deep down know that their support of Trump is wrong. But I think that one of the reasons that it makes it so hard to walk away and to admit the error of one's ways is that we, as I was, and so many people in MAGA are now, so deeply invested in the community. I don't think MAGA is a cult. I think it is best understood as a community where people have feelings of gathering and belonging, where there's a shared purpose, and there's also a common identified enemy. And I think that people are afraid to admit when they are mistaken, because it is not a natural act for our species to apologize, especially publicly. And I think that people in MAGA who are having doubts right now, who have quietly left, I believe for good and understandable reasons, they are afraid to come forward and admit a mistake because they're afraid of being judged, shamed, and ostracized. Yep. And I would encourage everyone out there who's seeing this, who have MAGA friends and relatives, don't give up on them, because I believe most people in MAGA deep down are good people who have been led astray. I think that MAGA media and influencers, Mary Lou, I believe that they have exploited and manipulated followers' very understandable fears and concerns. And it was after I started to realize that I could either live in denial or I could listen to my doubts and my conscience, and I chose the latter.
Okay, so many things to say. First of all respect to this man. All respect to this man. This man did the work. This man, and not only that, but the fact that he felt guilty about not being public about his change of heart because of the impact that his very public support had had. I mean, all respect to this man. Also, watching Mary Lou, because now you got me looking at her, which is
Yes.
when he was like, I think they know that their support of Trump is wrong. I don't think she agrees with that.
I think she took a lot of that there in that section very hard.
I mean, and I can understand the why. Like you said, it's kind of
It was
like,
too much. All respect to Rich, too. I think he's incredible, but I'm almost like, oh, his story is kind of for us.
maybe, yes, like, don't be dicks.
That's
Like,
what we want to hear. All of that was like what we want to hear. Shoot.
well, I guess to me, he hasn't made the case of why someone should leave MAGA. He's just explaining his own journey. He hasn't been like,
Which is maybe what he
all
was
he can do.
is fair. Yes. And I found myself like critiquing him and then being like, wait, I mean, this is not all his responsibility, but
No, it is his journey. He's describing his own journey.
exactly. I was hoping like that maybe he would recognize that Mary Lou was not in the place that maybe many of the people that seek out his organization are, and kind of go, maybe, hey, I recognize that you're not in a similar place, but I'm just here to talk about myself and my journey and my experiences, but really like hammering home that she can make her own decisions. He is not going to assume she's anywhere that she's not, and like give her dignity
Yeah.
in this conversation, not
Yeah.
an intervention.
I assume that everybody knows. I think everybody that follows him knows that they're being shitty. I mean, that's like quite a statement to say to. Also, though, I feel like what I want someone in this space to be doing, and of course, here we go, here I go, armchair quarterbacking again, but like curiosity towards Mary Lou. Like, okay, so now I've talked a lot about my own
Yes.
personal journey. Mary Lou, I'm curious about what's landing for you and what's really not. Talk to me about like, you know, like just kind of giving her some space to add her own, you know what I mean? Because I'm seeing her face, I'm watching her. I know that if I brought this man into a conversation who I respect you, Rich, much love. But if I brought him into a conversation with my mom, who is not really MAGA, but is MAGA adjacent, and he said that, she would shut down. She would be like, this conversation is over. You've just called me an evil person, even though that's not what he said, but
Right.
that's what she would have heard. And that would have not gone anywhere.
That's why I don't think this conversation is political at all. I don't think it has anything to do with politics. I think it has everything to do with identity protection. And because that is the case, like they are talking about a bad political actor, and she's taking it as them taking down her entire world, like,
Her
and
whole
talking
world,
shit
yeah.
about it, and just assuming that she's been hoodwinked. And
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, she
I don't,
has been, but like to say that to her face without leading her, she has to make these decisions on her own. She
Yes.
has to come to these conclusions on her own. You can't just say it at her and then she has to do that journey and come. That's the only way she's gonna actually change her mind. Anyone is actually gonna change their mind, in my opinion.
because agreed. Spoiler alert. It's never going to be her kids either that do it. Like, this is my prediction for how it's going to have to go down. She's just going to, like the MAGA truck at my work, slowly but surely the decals will start disappearing. The teddy bears will be out of the window. And all of a sudden, what are you talking about? I'm not MAGA, I'm a
Yeah.
Republican.
Yeah. Oh, also, this guy, Rich, he said something. I mean, obviously, the reality too is that I don't think politically align with his beliefs, because he made some comments. Now I'm forgetting what it was, but it was like a very subtle word choice that to me outlined, or he was talking about, maybe it wasn't that subtle, but he was talking about, you know, turning the country socialist, and he didn't like that. And so, like there are still some, like you're saying, it's almost, it's bigger than politics, right?
Yes.
It's not that what we're talking about isn't just about the actual policies. There are some, you know, other lurking things
There's
at
a
play
lot more
here.
going on beneath
Yeah.
the covers.
Right.
Certainly. I also, just the more and more this guy talks, I'm just like, were you really ever MAGA?
Honestly,
I mean, you're too.
which parts?
I
It sounds
mean,
like the racist. It sounds like the racist parts.
see, I didn't get that at all, but
He
maybe
said
you're right.
I would believe that somebody was working to make me an irrelevant member of my
Yes.
own
Okay, so white
country.
supremacists.
There's a
white
little,
supremacists.
and he said that there was someone trying to replace me with brown people. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he is. Maybe that was part of him getting bamboozled, but those undercurrents are definitely
For sure.
there.
Maybe he has some discovery left to do.
Maybe.
There's homework for Rich.
Honestly, life it should be treated as constant discovery. The discovery should
Exactly.
never cease, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why
Curiosity
we're
should
graciously helping Chad and Haley here to grow. If they want to change. I mean, they can do whatever they want. And even Chad had said, like, you know, we've been getting these suggestions and stuff, but like we've kind of just decided that we're gonna continue on the path that we've
Well,
been
good for
doing
them.
because
I didn't
and
realize
I kind of was like, totally agree with that. Like, why would you, if you're
Right.
not sure, then why would you change what you authentically have been doing?
Absolutely. And I feel like if Chad and Haley ever watch this, they might be like, who are these two fucking
They will.
bitches? But we love them.
Friends of
It's
the
not a
show.
matter of like, we're on their
No.
side, you know?
This is for me personally having a lifetime of being in relationships where I absolutely now know like what the reality is and what's fair, but in, you know, practical terms, it's not fairness. You are persuading because these aren't legitimate actors.
All right, there's a lot to unpack there. Let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
I want to say this.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's interesting that essentially what you said is the catalyst for all of this was your children. And so it was being a parent during COVID that kind of catapulted you into politics, because I have the same experience. It wasn't until Sandy Hook that I really kind of thought, fuck, this isn't right. You know, that was a key moment for me in really the trajectory of like me getting into politics, and kind of everything revolved around this. So I just thought it was interesting that it was the same for you. It was always about my kids in the beginning. It's what threw me into it.
And now we sit here at
That, if I said that, I'm just like relating it to my own experience. Helen would be
course.
devastated.
That's why the show is so popular.
It's so popular because we can all see a little bit of our, well, the people who are like you and I, who have very different political beliefs than our family, can see ourselves in it. But like she said, it's interesting that the thing that made you change is because your kids, because you're a parent. My mom would be like, she's saying that I'm being a bad mom. And I know people probably listening are like, wait, what? That's obviously not what she said, because it isn't what she said, but I know how it would land, right?
Amy, you are on another fucking level than I am, because I actually didn't even pick that one up. I thought that was a clear, genuine, she was, you know, kind of found it interesting that it really was two child mass shootings.
She talks about her kids, right? So
Yeah.
I don't even think she probably isn't seeing that this way at all. But I just have spent so much time.
I think you're right. It's exactly, yes.
Like
What I just said is sensitive. You're
I'm very sensitive to the many meanings and interpretations that what I can say.
and
I
what
say
all
can-
possible interpretations could be, and could put you in a really big pickle to get out of. So you just
This is
ready,
basically-
hyper vigilant.
I'm basically telling on myself that I have generalized anxiety disorder.
Well, could be debated. There's, you know, could be all sorts of things.
It could be all sorts
then-
of things. But I'm hyper aware. And the
Vigilant.
thing is, sometimes I'm wrong, but a lot of the times when I'm like, oh my, I'm a lot of the times I can clock how at least people in my family are going to interpret and completely misinterpret, but the story they'll tell themselves based on the thing that they're misinterpreting.
That is why I feel like so connected to this episode, because I feel like I see exactly what Chad and Haley are trying to do, and rightfully so.
Of
And I
course.
see exactly how Mary Lou is taking it.
Yeah, me too. I'm thinking we're seeing the same
And-
things.
And exactly what Chad is this is just another humiliation on top of that, telling her.
as the children of our own mom, trying to get her out of the MAGA, as you put it, Rich thrall.
I want to go back to the COVID. I don't understand how that made you so upset. No one knew how to navigate COVID. Other governments in other countries didn't know how to navigate that. We were lied to by Fauci.
That's exactly why you listen to the scientists and the doctors, because no one did know what to do.
And also, though, what I see in that moment is genuine curiosity from Mary Lou. Tell me more. I want to understand why COVID was the breaking point for you. She's asking him because she isn't understanding what the breaking point was, right?
Another defense of Mary Lou that I appreciate, because I think
We
there's
love
a
to
couple
defend
in this
Mary Lou.
episode. I think she lays Easter eggs to her heart and to her soul that are dismissed.
Mom, if I may, the
Yes, you
first
may.
point Rich made in what he was saying was the thing that really gave him the sense of community and wanting to be in MAGA was that MAGA was always presenting this other, a they, an adversary, whether that is progressives, Democrats, people of different races, whoever the boogeyman was. MAGA is very good in its messaging about always putting one in front of you. Right now it's Iran or trans people. I mean, there's always a bunch of them. But what Rich was saying is like that idea is wrong. It's manufactured specifically to
No lies told.
That's true, but that's not what she was asking.
That's not
and
what she was
that's
asking.
Just
That's
like
not what she was asking.
prescribing and saying your fear is because they manufactured it, which I just,
Well, and I want Rich to be able to answer her question. Like, I
yeah.
want to hear his answer because she is like, wait a minute, I don't understand why that was your breaking point. Like, can you tell me more? But she isn't given that answer.
Chad.
We love you,
Keep
Chad.
as an adherent to the MAGA movement.
So you don't think COVID was real, Chad?
I'm not talking about, yes, obviously COVID was real. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like you and Dad for the duration of this podcast. I've always been very aggressively against whoever the MAGA enemy du jour is.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's China, Iran, it can be different countries, obviously. It can be liberals, it can be Antifa, whatever that is. Now they're arresting people
All
who are
true.
just like protesters saying you're Antifa, so you go to jail. That's happening now in Minnesota. So I'm just wondering
crazy.
for you, Mom, if hearing Rich talk about that like unlocks anything, because that was your guys' on ramp to this too. Is who is my enemy? In the beginning, it's Obama, obviously, and we understand why you perceive him as an enemy. But throughout the course of your tenure in MAGA, you've always had an enemy. Whoever Trump says is that enemy, you hate them, you openly talk about it, you call them names, et cetera, et cetera. And Rich is sitting here telling you that's how they got him in the first place.
Right. I understand what you're saying. I do believe also it is our sources. Where do we get our information from? We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting yours from Trump.
Yes, that's true, Mary Lou.
That is everything. That is not the first time she's brought this up. I think it's ridiculous, the ground news little runaround thing. She has basically said, hey guys, I know the big issue here. Obviously, what's going on is the big issue, but she realizes the intake of that is the issue, and she's asking for help without asking for help.
Oh my God, I think you're right.
It drives me crazy because here's his answer.
No.
Up in Newsmax.
Well, yes, I started ground news. I do like ground news. I read a lot on X.
Yeah, I don't know how, I'm kind of like a little, if I'm honest, I'm a little confused about where that conversation even went. You know what I mean? Like, she wanted to understand better from Rich what exactly about COVID made him want to leave MAGA. That was never answered. Then we start talking about news.
Yep.
And then
She's saying, like, that's the thing. And he's going, well, let me explain to you why it's all
everything you
fucked.
see is wrong.
They're missing really the boat there, because I would want, and Haley does this, suggest following left-wing people to get on that
Right.
algorithm. I just don't understand why they're not seeing, like, if she did not consume right-wing media, she would not be in this position. And she is saying, I know that's the problem. Help, what am I supposed to do? I think this should be their number one goal.
Yeah.
Is find someone that Mary Lou actually likes
Yeah.
on the left to follow.
Good luck, though. Who's she gonna like on the left? Ah, Hassan.
Or like super liberal, and it will continue to feed you more liberal media. You don't follow anything like that. You don't like or click on anything like that. But if you do,
Well, I think, Mary Lou, as an experiment as well, give yourself 30 days of not watching Fox and Newsmax and see if it at all changes perhaps some of your views and perspectives. Because something that accurate information is liberating. And something that I came to conclude after leaving MAGA is that there has been a multi-decade coordinated effort by the right wing to demonize and vilify Democrats, liberals, and progressives. And that propaganda and agitprop is effective, it's consistent, and it's disciplined. When I was in MAGA, all I consumed was MAGA-friendly media. In fact, I even trademarked a term for media that was not MAGA, and I called it the Democrat Media Industrial Complex. That's what I thought at the time. That was I actually went through the process of trademarking that,
He's
because
the
I
one
believed
that did that?
in a media, that any media that was not MAGA, then it must have been enemy propaganda. And that's how I felt about people who were not in MAGA, that if you were not with us, you were against us, and that you were either 100% with us or you were 100% against us. And anyone who was opposed to us, I looked at them not as wrong and misguided, but as an existential threat to my life, to my family, to my livelihood, and to my country.
I want to ask you something, Richard.
I think it's interesting and very. This man has obviously taken a lot of time to really do some internal, work, but like I think it's an insightful distinction that he's made about. It wasn't that I considered people on the left to be misguided. I thought of them as an existential threat to my existence, to my life, like my way of life. And I think he's right in that the propaganda machine on the right has just been able to really, really accomplish that. But also, I would say, I think it wouldn't be fair for me to not say that I think that there is treatment on the left of people on the right like that too. But they are existential threats to our democracy and our way of life.
This is why it's so hard.
Yeah.
I can't, the double binds where, and also the projection of what they're doing, and then so you can't call it out.
Yeah.
But that's a definitely a constant thing I see in my, Twitter comments when I'm scrolling and looking at what different sides of the aisle are thinking, or different
Right.
people. It's even if they're saying, yeah, I know this right-wing person may have flaws, but if the Democrats win, it's like civilization is over.
Well, and I think that's the difference, is that if the right, like the policies that the right are advancing are actually like extremely dangerous to the lives of certain groups, right? Like look at what's happened to immigrants in the United States, or even just brown people in the United States. Look at and we can call it an existential threat to, for example, the health and safety of trans people, of queer people, of brown and black people, of anyone that isn't a white Christian American. So I do, because I want to be like, well, hold on, am I being fair? But then the reality is that the policies that I want are everybody getting paid enough to where they have all of everything that they need. I think that, free healthcare, free housing. I want everybody to have what they need to be able to lead a safe and happy life. And the policies that are being espoused on the right are literally like extermination style.
It feels offensive to want all of those things on the left and then be told that you want the end of civilization.
Yeah, right. When in reality, the right is actively supporting a genocide, for example, is actively supporting white supremacist, you know what I mean, anti-trans, so it is different.
I'm really having a hard time with the freedom of speech of it all as well. How that was like the biggest thing, and friend of the show, Elon Musk. It's like that was his number one thing, and now he is suing Ro Khanna for defamation for saying like he should pay his fair share.
Okay, there have been, I feel like, a lot more. I've been seeing at least Zionists.
They're mad right now.
Billionaires. Wait, what'd you say?
The Zionists are mad at Trump right now.
Well, I think that finally, because Trump is like, listen, Bibi, like, what are you doing? Like,
I gotta get out of this war, bro.
Like, it seems like you kind of lied about.
Yeah, it seems like this is taking longer.
Is on the greater Israel project. His cabinet is talking about taking parts of Lebanon, taking parts of Syria, taking parts of Iraq, taking parts of Iran. They are an existential threat to the world, is Zionism, but
yes, it's been quite interesting watching the tears come out of like Batya. Cut her in.
Cut her in.
Great deal for America and a bad deal for Israel. I would champion it because I see myself as an America First American. The problem is that it's an absolutely disastrous deal that has brought us to our knees weeks before our 250th birthday. This is an utter humiliation of the United States, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it, but especially Iran knows it. They are celebrating this. They are still calling us the enemy. And while Iran celebrates this and sneers at us for totally capitulating when we had complete military superiority over them, J.D. Vance is out there criticizing Israel, making up fantasies about how it is Israel's fault, and Israel wants Iran to be a failed state. And if only Israel would lay down its arms and allow Hezbollah to keep attacking it, there would be peace in the Middle East. It is disgusting. It is the complete Tucker Carlsonification of the Vice President of the United States, and it is utterly deplorable. The only good thing I can say about it is, if this was a dry run for Vance 2028, we sure learned a lot.
The biggest Trump supporter, she'll like be paneled on the CNN like roundtable, where they all bicker, and she's just, I think, been relentlessly defending anything Trump does. And then
how embarrassing.
and she was part of the Free Press, I think Ursula is, and she was just now is
How
like,
funny
this
that they talk
is-
about the free press when now they're literally going after anyone that is supporting Palestine, that is speaking out against Zionism, that speaks out against the administration. They're literally, they already, Chad already referred to it, but they're giving people, I just saw today, like 100-year sentences for thought crimes. For thought crimes. That's like the opposite of what the United States is supposed to be.
And that was part 1 of our 3-part series where Amy and I discuss the necessary conversation about the necessary conversation. Core lesson today, if you want to move them boomers, you gotta baby bird them. Join us next time for part 2.